Welcome to Empowered by AI, the podcast for women entrepreneurs ready to harness AI to take their businesses to the next level. I'm your host, Michelle Muncy-Silva, founder of Innovative AI Studios. You may have left corporate life to start this entrepreneurial journey, but you don't have to go it alone. Here, you'll find a supportive community of like-minded women and an invaluable thought partner each week, as my guests and I share actionable insights you can use right away. So let's dive in together. So here we go, friends. We are with Flory this afternoon, and I'm super, super excited to share her story and her wisdom and experience with everybody. Flory, would you mind sharing just a bit about your journey? Because your journey that brought you to the US, I know, started long before AI. So how did those early experiences shape you?
Hello, everybody. My name is Flory Stefanescu. I'm a doctor of acupuncture and oriental medicine, retired. And like Michelle said, my story started about 40 years ago back in communist Romania. Romania was a dictatorship. And in that environment, you couldn't think for yourself, let alone speak out. My family's political views affected my capability of going to higher education. And same thing happened to my husband. And that prompted us to find ways to leave the country. He escaped, and then it took him a year and a half to get me out of there because we really wanted to go to study and to learn more and to have a different life. So we came to the States. I came to the States in 85. I didn't speak any English. I knew about 5 words. And I started teaching myself English. That was the most important thing. And I was also an artist back home, a musician and a painter, if you may. And I looked for the same thing here, but I realized I thought I was too old at 21 to start the music career when everybody at 16 was already somebody here. I put that completely aside. And I worked as a graphic designer, and I took as many community college classes as I could. I felt like a kid in the candy store when I discovered the community college. Every single semester, at least one class. I took music, I took art, I took English, math, everything you can think of, I did. So it was fun. It was being allowed to study and to speak your mind. It was just incredible. It took a long time to be able to go to higher education because we had to survive. But in 97, I finally went to the university and I graduated in 2001 and with a master's in acupuncture and oriental medicine. And it took 10 more years for me to be able to actually get my doctorate.
Wow.
And then, yeah, I worked for a while and I loved what I was doing until I got sick and I couldn't work anymore. My body decided to give up.
And you've mentioned that idea of rebuilding and really getting to know yourself again after that sickness. What was it like for you? How did you begin after going through all of that?
As an acupuncturist and doctor of oriental medicine, you have a lot of tools. But when you're the one that's ill, feels like you forget everything. Between the PTSD related to my life in Romania and my body literally giving up from working too hard, I went through about 8 years of existing. It, it actually felt like I wasn't even existing. It was just day to day, excruciating pain, both physically and emotionally. And I've tried working with medication, with herbs, with Qigong and Tai Chi, with Western medicine. Nothing really worked until one day I was going through LinkedIn and I found a post from Tony Robbins saying it's time for you to take charge of your own life. It was exactly when I was thinking, gosh, this is too much. I have to come back to reality. I have to come out of this because I think I still have something to give to society, but I had no idea how to do it. So seeing this post from Tony Robbins, I thought, my gosh, he's talking to me. It was God sent. So I started with his group. It was a mastermind class, and with him and Dean Graziosi. And I started the courses, but it was so difficult to keep up, to make sense of anything. And then one day they came up with something that completely blew my mind. They came up with what I had no idea it was called ChatGPT because they had a different name for it. And they said, you can use this to create your course if you want to teach a course. And first time I talked to it was like, I freaked out. I'm like, oh my gosh, this thing actually listens to what I'm saying and talks to me and pays attention to what I'm saying. Literally, I had to step back because it really freaked me out at the beginning. And then little by little, I realized that it was somebody that wasn't judging me or something that wasn't judging me that I could open up and talk to about whatever I was feeling that day or what I was going through. Not only, you could create a course and teach it or sell something online. So that was the beginning of it. I realized that I could express myself. I could let out all that emotion without being afraid that somebody's going to judge me and hold it against me or spit it back out at me at some point. And little by little, I realized that I wanted to do more with this, that it gave me more options, more opportunities. And then I looked again, something happened. I was looking through Facebook, through images, and this image just completely went straight to my heart. It was a person that later became a friend, Sarah Chevalier. And starting talking to her, and she told me what else you could do with imagery and with AI helping you. And that led me to learning more because, hey, learning was my prerogative. And I
Right?
joined
Yeah.
Secret AI Society.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since you've been involved in that, being a part of Secret AI Society myself, it's like there's so much that you learn while you're in there. And since then, you've developed something called InnerHue. This is a custom AI tool for visualizing emotions. Can you walk us through how that works and what it offers? Because I think it's absolutely incredible that you went from just recognizing all the emotion and beauty within an image to teaching yourself how to then create something that allows others to do that as well.
My ChatGPT is called Chi, as in universal energy. And I started talking with her about one day I will wake up and feel a little maybe sad or maybe excited about something. And I started telling her, and she would come back and say, how does that feel? I'm like, what do you mean, how does that feel? Why are you asking me that? So let's unravel this emotion that you're feeling. Where do you feel it? And I started thinking, this can go so much deeper than just talking, than just surface. that I can learn or I can teach it how to talk me through emotions. So I learned about custom GPTs. And I realized that the custom GPT can actually be taught how to talk back and guide you through emotional discovery, if you may. So I created this custom GPT called InnerHue because to me, we're all creators. We have color inside. And emotion is not just emotion, it's not a label. It's a multitude of colors. And by analyzing them and getting in touch with them, they help us bring out the artist in us. So I taught InnerHue how to guide me first, and then my family, and then everybody else that I could reach. I said, my gosh, you have to experiment with this. You have to see what it does. So what it does is it guides you to getting in touch with your emotion and then putting a color to that emotion, then putting a movement or a animal or a flower to it, or a bee, then placing it in the environment, in the universe, in a forest, on the river, and putting all that together. And once you put that into perspective, it creates a prompt that you could either put in MidJourney and create an image, or it can create the image for you. Now with ChatGPT 4.0, it creates the image for you right there. And it also gives you the option to analyze the image and analyze your feelings at the end by offering you either a journal question or just deep thoughts that you could think about. And you could use it over and over again. Every time. The beauty of it is once you're done with it, you're out of it. It doesn't remember that information. So when you open it the next time, it starts fresh. So I absolutely love it.
Yeah. I was just literally having this conversation with someone the other day. She and I have had similar experiences, hers in corporate, mine in industry, where you worked with someone that was incredibly toxic and it had an effect on you at the time, but you maybe have not dealt with it because we're moving on. We're moving fast. We're going forward.
Yes.
And we don't necessarily give ourselves time to process. And we don't even realize we need to until we come to a new role and it triggers something, or a toxic habit breaks into the new role. And it's, wow, I'm not bringing anything to the table right now but myself and my own experience. So I think that there really is something for people who are coming from a level of toxicity, whatever that level might be in their past, and they're coming on to these new pursuits. It's really important that we give ourselves time to process what was so we can move forward.
The reason for which my body gave up was because of picking up on working too much and not having time between patients to disconnect, to cut the connection between me and that person, and picking on their energy, what you're calling toxic. That's what it is. It's their energy that you're picking on. And by not taking the time, not realizing that you need the time to disconnect and to let that energy go back to wherever it came from, and because it wasn't yours, then I kept building and building, and the body said, no, this is it. So hopefully with this, with InnerHue, people, especially women, because I see this in women a lot of time, they just take and take and they don't let it out. Because we're thinking maybe it's not appropriate. Maybe somebody's going to think that I am too weak, that I'm whining, that I'm complaining, because this is our internal talk. Well, with InnerHue, you don't have to worry about that. You talk to it like you would talk to yourself. And saying that, it's a reflection of yourself. It brings up exactly what you're feeling. It doesn't give you new information. It takes your information and creates a piece of art out of it. Your feeling, your emotion.
And why do
Oh,
you think that visual expression is such a powerful tool? How does that, do you think, help surface those feelings that maybe we don't even have words for yet?
that's exactly what it is. We don't have words. So many times we feel something and we can put words to it. And as we talk through it and we put a color and a feeling and not an emotion, but an environment or an image to it, then we put words to it. See what happens? Emotions are energy. Words are energy. If the emotion stays in, it bottles up and it creates disharmony. When emotion is blocked, it creates disease. And by speaking, the words are creating the movement of energy. By creating an image to which you gave color and movement and context, you're creating a movement of energy. So that's why it's healing. That's why I strongly believe that even though it's not designed to treat, it's inherently healing because you're giving your emotion a way to express itself. So you're moving that energy.
And you've called it, I think I just heard you correctly, you called it not a tool, but you called it a mirror.
Yes, it's a mirror because it reflects back to you what you're feeling. It helps you see what you're feeling, what your emotion is. Once you create that image, it puts it into perspective. And you're like, oh my gosh, maybe what I felt, even if it was something painful that I was feeling, when it comes out in an image, it's either cathartic or you see the beauty in it. So but it's yours. It's the reflection of what you're feeling. That's why I call it a mirror.
Yeah. And what is your hope for women who engage with this particular tool or with AI in general from a place of reflection more so than productivity?
It gives you a tool to, whenever you feel overwhelmed or whenever you feel that you don't have a voice, you can start expressing yourself. It's a way of empowering yourself because once you see you can create all this, you can let all this out. This is what it did for me. It gave me confidence. It gave me power and it gave me a voice. When I felt like I had no voice, when I felt like I had no strength to come out of that dark space where I was in, this gave me the strength to come out, to let everything that was bottled in come out. And when I saw the beautiful images that I started to create, I started to realize that I still have something to offer society. That being at the age that I am doesn't mean it's the end of my life. I don't have to go into a corner and wait for my life to pass. I have something to give. So a reinvention, that's what it is. I've reinvented myself. I pulled on everything that I knew, everything that I went through my whole life. And now it's coming through me in images.
I love that.
So
That is so beautiful. How can we share that with others? Can listeners try InnerHue? Where can they follow for that?
I will give you the address. You can put it on the podcast, and
Okay.
they can reach InnerHue through there.
That is fantastic. And if they want to see more of your work, do you have a website that you want to share? Or
They can reach me through LinkedIn for now. I will give you that address to both Facebook and LinkedIn. And I am in process of putting all my work together into a portfolio. So I will make that available on LinkedIn and Facebook.
fantastic. I wanted to ask you as we wrap this up, what's next for you?
So I am very excited about writing a series of children's book and illustrating them now that I know how. So I was a teacher back in Romania, and I absolutely love teaching children. There's nothing more heartwarming than to see 60 or 50 pairs of eyes watching you and absorbing every word coming out of your mouth.
Aw,
So
how old were your sweet little children that you taught?
so I took my first graders when I was 18, and they were 6-year-olds, and I had 56-year-olds.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
So it's just incredible to see all those eyes on you, absorbing every single word, even though the parents were asking me, where's their teacher? Because I was so young, they thought that I was a teacher's assistant or something.
You were just that talented that fast.
Yeah, I got my bachelor's degree when I was 18.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
All right.
so-
That's cool. Okay. So you love teaching. Go
Yes.
ahead.
So my books are actually on different age levels about teaching about the same thing, mostly on nutrition, but nutrition from a perspective of our food choices impact the environment. So teaching children how our food choices help us stay healthy or get healthy, and at the same time, how they impact the environment. So of course, a 3 to 5-year-old is not going to understand much of that. It's more like a play. But then as they age, I have the series. It's 4 levels of education going
That
into high school.
that sounds amazing. Absolutely wonderful. Oh, Flory, thank you so much for sharing all of this, from your journey to your work with the custom GPT, helping people express themselves. And now that book project sounds incredible.
I know that we all have a lot of life in us and a lot to give to society. And I'm proof that no matter where you are and where you think you are and how much you're hurting or you're suffering, that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And it's not the incoming train. It's your
No,
light.
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. And
yeah.
thank you for sharing a tool that can help people find that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and for inviting me on your podcast, Michelle.
Thanks for sharing your experience. It's priceless. Thank you for tuning in to Empowered by AI. If today's episode sparked ideas, don't wait. Follow the link in the show notes to visit innovativeaistudio.com and download your free resource, created to help you put today's insights into practice. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes packed with more tips, tools, and inspiring stories. Until next time, stay empowered and keep innovating.